The boardroom went silent when the CEO slid 5 glossy photos across the table toward her 10-year-old daughter. "Sweetheart, choose your new father. Pick one of these men. They're all wealthy, powerful, and will give you the life you deserve." Every executive in the room smirked, except the girl. She looked down at the photos, then glanced toward the janitor mopping the corner, the one man who'd smiled at her when everyone else ignored her. She pointed at him and said, "I choose Ethan." Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Gasps rippled through the boardroom like a sudden gust of wind. The CEO, Victoria Hayes, blinked twice, sure she'd misheard her daughter. "Lila, sweetheart," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You didn't understand. These men," she gestured toward the photos, "are CEOs, investors, senators. They can give you everything." Lila's chin lifted. "Ethan already has." All eyes turned to the janitor in the far corner, still holding his mop. Ethan Carter froze mid-step, his calloused hands tightening on the handle. He'd been sweeping the same spot for nearly a minute, not daring to move. Victoria's face hardened. "He cleans floors. That's not a life." Lila's voice didn't shake. "He's the only one who talks to me. He's the only one who listens. That is a life." A murmur spread among the executives. Ethan looked like he wanted to disappear, but instead, he stepped forward. Slow, measured. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "your daughter doesn't need money. She needs someone who cares." Victoria's glare could have cut steel. "You're dismissed, now." But Lila was already on her feet, running to Ethan, wrapping her small arms around him as if daring anyone to pull her away. That was the moment Ethan realized. He'd just stepped into a storm far bigger than himself. The room crackled with tension. A few board members exchanged glances, some hiding smirks behind their hands, others looking at Victoria like they were watching a public relations disaster unfold in real time. Victoria's stilettos clicked sharply against the polished floor as she circled Ethan, her voice smooth but edged like glass. "Do you know what you've just done?" she asked him. "You've humiliated me in front of my team, my investors, and my daughter." Ethan held his ground, though his jaw tightened. "I didn't do anything. She made her choice." Lila was still clutching his arm like it was the only anchor she had. Her eyes darted between her mother and Ethan, but there was no fear, only quiet defiance. Victoria scoffed, turning her gaze to her daughter. "You think this man can protect you? Provide for you? He can't even afford a suit, Lila. Look at him." Ethan's uniform was worn. The knees of his work pants faded, his boots scuffed. But there was a steadiness in his voice when he said, "I may not have money, but I have integrity, and I won't let anyone treat her like she's a business deal." A sharp, uneasy laugh escaped Victoria. "Integrity doesn't pay for private school. Integrity doesn't keep you safe from the press. Integrity does keep you safe from loneliness," Lila interrupted, her voice slicing through the room. "You're surrounded by people every day, Mom, but you're still alone." The silence after that felt heavy. Ethan finally took a small step back, his eyes on Victoria. "I'm not trying to take your place, but maybe you should ask yourself why she'd rather pick a janitor than anyone else in your world." For the first time, Victoria didn't have an immediate comeback. Her lips parted, then closed again. Ethan knew he should leave, but something in Lila's grip told him, if he walked away now, she'd lose the only real connection she had. And that wasn't something he could live with. The heavy boardroom door slammed behind them, but the sound followed Ethan down the hallway like an echo that refused to die. He could still feel the heat of Victoria's glare burning into the back of his neck. Lila hadn't let go of his arm since they left the conference table. "You're not leaving, right?" she asked in a voice that was too small for a girl who just stood up to a room full of adults. Ethan knelt so they were eye level. "Lila, I don't think your mom—" "I don't care what she thinks," she cut in. "I don't care about suits or money or fancy cars. You're my friend. You listen to me. And you saved my puppy when the elevator door almost closed on her, remember?" He remembered. That day had been nothing but instinct. His hand shooting out, pulling the tiny dog back just before the doors shut. No applause, no thanks. Just a small smile from Lila that had stuck with him for weeks. "Friends don't leave," she whispered. Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm not leaving unless they make me." They didn't have to wait long for that attempt. As soon as they reached the lobby, Victoria's head of security, broad-shouldered, tailored suit, expression like a slab of granite, was blocking the exit. "Mr. Carter," he said, "your employment here has been concluded, effective immediately." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Figures," he muttered, glancing down at Lila. Her small hand gripped his tighter. Victoria descended the staircase with the grace of someone who'd been trained to own every room she entered. Her voice carried effortlessly. "Lila, go upstairs with Mrs. DeVere. We'll talk about this later." "No," Lila said flatly. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Don't test me." Ethan could have stayed quiet. He could have let security escort him out and disappear from this mess. But something inside him refused to let the girl face this alone. "She's not property you can trade for your corporate alliances," he said, his voice low but razor sharp. "She's a kid. She gets to decide who she trusts." Victoria's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You think you've won something here, Mr. Carter? You've done nothing but paint a target on your back. I'll make sure you can't get a job in this city again." Ethan met her gaze without flinching. "If that's the price for not letting her feel alone, I'll pay it." The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Victoria's nostrils flared slightly, but she said nothing more, just turned sharply and strode away, her heels snapping against the marble floor. The security guard stepped forward, but Lila moved first, planting herself in front of Ethan. "If he goes, I go," she declared. The guard hesitated. "Miss Hayes, you think the press will love a headline about a CEO throwing her own daughter out for hugging a janitor?" Ethan said quietly, his gaze locked on the man's. The guard's jaw worked, but he stepped aside. Ethan didn't move immediately. He just looked down at Lila, her face a mixture of fear and fierce determination. And he knew this wasn't over. Victoria Hayes wasn't the kind of woman who lost quietly. By morning, Ethan's phone was buzzing nonstop, but not with job offers. 3 voicemails from companies he'd applied to in the past week, each saying the same thing in slightly different words. "We've decided to move forward with other candidates." One email from the building's HR department. "Per your contract, any belongings in your locker must be removed by 5 p.m. And one text from a number he didn't recognize. "Should have kept your head down, janitor." It didn't take a genius to know where it all came from. Still, Ethan wasn't thinking about himself when he showed up at the small coffee shop near the downtown park. He was thinking about Lila, because she'd slipped him a folded piece of paper yesterday before security chased him out. All it said was, "Meet me here, 8 a.m. When he walked in, she was already there. feet swinging from a chair far too big for her, holding 2 steaming cups. "You bought me coffee?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's hot chocolate," she corrected with a grin. "You look like you need it." The simplicity of it hit him harder than he expected. No agenda, no expectation, just kindness. "I don't think your mom's happy about this," he said carefully. "She's not happy about anything unless it makes her richer," Lila replied, stirring her drink with exaggerated focus. "She doesn't care about people. But you do, and I'm not going to stop talking to you, no matter what she says." Before Ethan could answer, the bell over the door jingled. A man in an expensive navy suit walked in, scanning the shop until his eyes landed on Ethan. He approached, his voice clipped. "Mr. Carter, my name is Simon Pierce. I represent Hayes Global. Ms. Hayes has authorized me to offer you a settlement in exchange for your quiet departure from her daughter's life." Ethan leaned back, watching the man slide a crisp envelope across the table. Lila's eyes went wide. "I don't want your money," Ethan said. "You should reconsider," Simon replied smoothly. "It would be unfortunate if certain stories about you were to make their way into the press." Lila slammed her small fist onto the table, startling the man. "He didn't do anything wrong. You're the ones lying." Simon's jaw tightened, but he turned back to Ethan. "You have until the end of the day. After that, we can't guarantee this remains civil." When he left, Lila looked at Ethan with a mix of fear and stubbornness. "She's going to try to ruin you." Ethan sighed. "Yeah, but the only way she wins is if I walk away from you, and I'm not doing that." For the first time since yesterday, Lila smiled. "Good, because I have a plan." 2 nights later, the ballroom of the Hayes Global Charity Gala glittered under 1,000 lights. Camera flashes popped from every corner as reporters jostled for position near the red carpet. It was the company's most high-profile night of the year. Victoria's personal stage to flaunt power and polish, and right in the middle of it, Lila slipped through the side entrance with Ethan at her side, both dressed far better than the last time they'd seen this crowd. Her plan had been simple, but bold. Use the one event where her mother couldn't throw a public tantrum without destroying her own reputation. Ethan had resisted. He didn't want to embarrass Lila or drag her deeper into her mother's games. But the determined look in her eyes had reminded him of why he hadn't walked away in the first place. As soon as they entered, conversation slowed, eyes tracking them. A few guests whispered, recognizing the janitor from the now viral photo circulating online, Lila hugging him in the boardroom. Someone had leaked it, and while Victoria's camp called it a misunderstanding, the public seemed far more charmed than outraged. Victoria noticed them halfway through her opening speech. Her voice didn't falter, but her grip on the podium tightened. "And tonight," she said, "is about the future, about building stronger alliances for the next generation." Lila stepped forward, her small but clear voice carrying across the ballroom. "Then maybe the future should start with telling the truth, Mom." A ripple of gasps moved through the crowd. The cameras swung to her instantly. "Truth?" Victoria's tone was syrupy, dangerous. "You told everyone I'd choose one of your friends to be my new dad," Lila said, her gaze unwavering. "But I already chose. I chose Ethan because he's the only person in this whole building who treats me like I matter, not like I'm a trophy." The room was dead silent. Ethan could feel every pair of eyes on them, but his attention was locked on Lila, standing tall in her pale blue dress, defying the most powerful woman in the room. Victoria laughed lightly, trying to recover. She's just a child. And you're just afraid, Lila interrupted. Afraid people will see you can't buy love. A few reporters scribbled faster, some openly grinning. Victoria's polished image was cracking under the heat of her own daughter's words. Ethan stepped up beside Lila, speaking calmly but firmly. I'm not here to take anything from you, Ms. Hayes. But if caring for your daughter makes me an enemy, I'll gladly stay in her corner anyway. The applause started slow. One table near the back, then another. Within seconds, half the room was clapping, and the other half was filming. Victoria stood frozen, her jaw tight, knowing she couldn't throw them out without making herself the villain in front of the entire city. Later, when the lights dimmed and the noise faded, Lila whispered to Ethan, "Told you my plan would work." He smiled. "Yeah, kid, you were right." And as they walked out together, past the cameras, past the murmurs, Ethan knew that no matter what war Victoria tried to wage next, Lila had just won them the first battle.